findings are definitely a confirmation that our route is in bad shape and needs more attention. I think one of the biggest, most important recommendations is that we need a solution for this route, and whether it's because BC Ferries is losing money, which could be more of a problem for them than the public that just needs a great public service, or that we do need a public service. There needs to be a solution, and the commissioner is calling upon the community, BC Ferries, the provincial government, and the BC Ferry Authority to find one.
And how much money has the ferry lost, or has the route lost?
Well, I think you said that's in the details of the report. I think you said
Yeah,
30
well, 30 million
earlier.
in total,
That's
yeah.
accurate. I've heard that 24 million kicked around. The confirmation is that it is the definitely the most money losing route for the service, and it shows that quite significantly. And definitely an issue for that is BC Ferries is a private corporation now, and I often need to remind constituents on the coast of this, because of course it's been about 24 years that it was kind of under this privatization set up by Premier Gordon Campbell. And that is what it is. It's we can call for it to become a crown corporation again, but numerous premiers and ministers of transportation have assured me and our community that just is not practical. We can't go back, at least at this point.
The review says, even with complaints of bad service, the review found that the company is actually meeting its contractual obligations and in some instances exceeding them. Does that not contradict what we have been hearing, and certainly what you've said, that the company is reluctant to meet its obligations?
Yeah, well, that's a question I definitely wanted to ask the commissioner. I wanted the commissioner to look into that. I feel on behalf of the community, especially at times like we experienced in September, where there isn't immediate backup for breakdowns, and things need to happen, like vehicles especially are left waiting while passenger ferries need to come and get passengers, at least, or even in the case where a tugboat had to push the ferry into dock in the spring.
Mm-hmm.
That obviously isn't sufficient, and I know BC Ferries would agree with that. But breakdowns do happen. I mean, we do need to recognize that. Our community understands that as well. There will be times as well when challenges in passengers' lives will cause the ferry to be late, or cause cancellations due to weather or things like that. So we accept that, but the problem is just really significant delays and cancellations that have been happening in recent years.
And again, just looking at the review, BC Ferries was supposed to deliver on Route 3 3,100 round trips over the course of the year in 2025. They actually exceeded that. They delivered more than 3,300 round trips, more than 200 extra round trips. What does that say about how it's being operated?
Well, what it's still losing money. I mean, this is the report says a lot of things about just the challenges with management of labor that are going on right now, and I think that the age of the boats is another problem,
right.
that is costing BC Ferries a lot of extra money and causing a lot of service delays. It's really, I mean, the stats say that there are enough sailings, but are people getting on the sailings at the right time? And I think, that's are people filling the boats when like versus at times when there's space
Yeah.
versus times when there are huge lineups that we all know of in the shoulder season, especially. We're most concerned about the shoulder season, which is in the spring, from about Easter to the summertime, and after the two sailing service of July and August ends, September and October.
Right.
That is when we're seeing the most delays, the most insufficient service for families here, often needing the service for sports tournaments, for seniors needing medical appointments. That's when our community is most challenged.
And do we see BC Ferries not trying to resolve that by reducing fares in off-peak periods?
Well, that is some of the news today, that BC Ferries will be announcing that they're going to be reducing more fares in off-peak periods to try to more aggressively get people on those other routes. At the same time, they're going to be bringing up the number of reservations, the reservation cap for the more popular routes, and that will be popular with some people, but it's also, frankly, very popular with unpopular with others. And BC Ferries knows that, and people have been voicing their opinions. So, what we will hopefully achieve is more consultation on that as that number starts to rise, a lot of monitoring of it. What I've asked on behalf of the community is that this change be incremental, that it be flexible, consultative, and transparent, so that we can share information and people can get back to BC Ferries through our local representatives about the changes in our lives that increase in reservations will have on us. And a lot of people are concerned about just losing flexibility and being able to get back and forth. So we need to give BC Ferries feedback on that. And really importantly, what I said about the shoulder seasons earlier will be addressed, at least in some part, in that there are going to be 2 extra sailings on the shoulder seasons announced today. And those will be in the afternoon, late evening period of day, which is the time when it's quite busy. So I'm also, that's what I'm most excited about in a change of service in response to this report, and looking forward to seeing it through and giving BC Ferries a lot of feedback with a new ferry advisory committee, which we've just appointed from the town of Gibsons, that will be coast-wide and open to all other local governments.
So we will see some service increases. Again, going back to the report, what I find particularly interesting is that operating revenues on this route, the revenues are up by 23%, which would be enviable for any business over a year. Your revenues are up by 23%, but then operating expenses have grown by 50%, twice the rate of revenues. What is that about?
A lot of it has to do in details in the report about about challenges for getting extra staff and staffing, and we know that's been a big challenge ever since the pandemic.
Yeah.
But it's also been a challenge for BC Ferries, especially to meet its service obligations to our community and running the second route in the summer, to just kind of start up a second route and have staff there for 2 months. Where do they live? These are all difficulties that need to be overcome that BC Ferries is needing to fund. And we feel really confident on the Sunshine Coast, actually, that those routes, that investment could be more worthwhile and profitable. We don't feel the 2 ferry service has been promoted enough, is well known enough. I often get questions as the mayor about is there a second ferry running in the middle of the summer? And I say, yeah, it's been running for a month now. And it's going really well, and ferries are running on time. So, and also tourism can be approved in the summer as
Right.
well. And just that knowledge and awareness of the second ferry, and the fact that people can get on it too. That's also been a misconception that the ferries are full all summer long.
Right.
So we really think that BC Ferries agrees
Yeah.
that communications can really be improved, and it can, by working together, sharing information, um, we can come up with this creative solution that the commissioner has called for.